Hi everyone, Drecky here, and today I'm reviewing the SJCam SJ8 Pro. The SJ8 Pro is SJCam's top-end action camera with all the premium features. As a result, it's also SJCam's highest priced camera, coming in at a whopping $220 from Amazon. Now, don't mix this one up with the other SJ8 cameras like the Plus and the Air, because the SJ8 Pro is different from those in a good way. The body of the SJ8 Pro is firmly constructed, featuring solid plastic that has no flex or gaps. And outside of a GoPro, this is one of the best built cameras I've held to date. Ironically, it's the exact same build as the SJ8 Plus, just the insides are different. And, you know, it's what's inside that counts, right? On the back of the camera, there is a giant bright touch screen. SJCam has cut back on the number of buttons on their cameras in favor of a touchscreen user interface. That just means inside of the waterproof case, you can really only switch between modes or turn the Wi-Fi on and off. It doesn't matter so much if you're only going to use this camera in shallow water with the touchscreen back, or you're going to use the camera outside of its waterproof housing. I personally prefer options though. Touchscreen and more buttons would be nice to have. This camera also has many professional options such as white balance, exposure, ISO, and even a flat color mode, which is great for those who want to tweak their video in post-production. The video from the SJ8 Pro, let me just say, it is very, very good. 4K 60 frames per second, has lots of detail, is smooth and colorful. The 4K 30 is stunning, crammed with detail and steady thanks to its image stabilization. I ended up leaving the camera in 4K 30 for the majority of this review because 60 frames per second was a bit tough on my computer. I'll throw some 60 FPS samples in a separate video so you can see for yourself. Needless to say, I'm quite happy with this camera, and I can't really find much to nitpick in terms of the video quality. It's as good as you can expect from a $200 camera, and even performs similar to higher end cameras. As I mentioned earlier, the SJ8 Pro is physically identical to the lower end SJ8 Plus. The only way to tell the difference from the outside is the silkscreen name on the front. But if the video is put side by side, there is a pretty big difference. The difference comes in terms of the white balance as well as the frame rate of the two cameras. The SJ8 Pro has a more accurate white balance, better exposure, and doesn't stutter at 4K, so I can wholeheartedly say that's worth the extra cost. In fact, I think SJCam might be firmware crippling the SJ8 Plus just to incentivize people to buy the SJ8 Pros. And why wouldn't you? It's often less than $20 more on Chinese e-tailers. Since this camera is based on a high-end sensor and processor, there's more flexibility when filming in low light. Just keep in mind it still won't be fantastic since you're still limited by the small sensor size, just like every other action cam. The SJ8 Pro, however, does have a setting that allows you to specify a maximum ISO, which gives a priority to brightness in low light, image noise, or shutter speed. Having the flexibility is great. As I mentioned earlier, I like choice, and that way you can choose a higher shutter speed to keep things a bit sharper at the expense of image noise. The result of the higher end video hardware is twilight shots look really good, and after dark it's still pretty respectable. I'd recommend turning off the image stabilization in the dark though, because it does cause some blurring in low light. Audio quality from this camera is excellent, while you're not really doing action things. If you're standing still, the audio quality is great for narration, but if you're moving and the camera is outside of the waterproof case, it picks up a ton of wind noise.
Hi everyone, Drecky here, and today we're reviewing the SJCam SJ8 Pro. This is SJCam's top-end action camera featuring 4K at 60 frames per second and stabilized 4K 30.
I was originally going to try and narrate this entire video with the SJ8 Pro since I do think it is good enough quality for that, but I ran into issues where my narration was completely overpowered by wind noise while I was riding my bike. In clips where the wind noise was overpowering, I've turned it down a bit so it doesn't blow out your eardrums or speakers. Check it out. The SJ8 also features 6-axis stabilization, and the difference it makes is noticeable compared to lower end cameras. I generally test action cams mounted to my helmet, which tends to shake and throw them around as I'm riding, and you can probably still see that the camera does jump around, However, it makes a lot of difference compared to no stabilization and does better than other cameras I've tested recently. At the moment, I don't have a way to mount two action cams onto my helmet, so let's put it side by side on my handlebars with the Firefly 8 SE, which also has 6-axis gyro stabilization. Which do you think looks better? Let me know in the comments below, and also let me know if you'd like to see a full comparison between two of these cameras, since they're both currently in my top recommended cameras. In conclusion, if you want 4K at 60 frames per second but you don't want to spend GoPro money, this is the camera to get. It's the first SJCam in a while I feel fully confident recommending without saying but. The SJ8 Plus is a fine camera, don't get me wrong, but the 4K skips a little bit and it has some serious color balance issues. The SJ7 Star is a fantastic camera too, but it's expensive compared to the Firefly 8 SE, and the audio quality is nowhere near as good. The SJ8 Pro, on the other hand, I've got a lot of good things to say about it, and even with the wind noise issue, it is possible to mitigate that by installing a separate USB microphone. When this camera goes on sale for $175 with the full accessory kit, the value is hard to beat. Hey, thanks so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to support my channel, throw some thumbs and subs my way, or check out the camera at the links in the description.